Once upon a time, there was a little girl with the most beautiful golden curls, and her name was Goldilocks. And Goldilocks was out in the forest one day looking around, and she came upon a house. And she thought, I'm very tired and I'm very hungry, so maybe I'll go in. So she walked inside, and she saw 3 chairs. One very large chair, one very small chair, and one regular medium-sized chair. And she went to sit. She sat in the big chair first, and she said, "Oh, this is much too big." So she climbed down and she went to the smallest chair, and she sat and she broke it. She said, "Oh, this is much too small." And then she sat in the 3rd chair and she said, "Oh, this one is just right." And there were 3 bowls of porridge on the table. And she said, "Oh, well, now that I have a nice chair, I'll eat out of this bowl." And she took a big bite and she said, "Oh no, this is way too hot." She put it to the side and she took a different bowl. And she took a bite and she said, "Oh, this is way too cold." So she grabbed for the last bowl. She said, "Ooh, no, this one's just right." And she ate all of the porridge. And then she found a nice chair and she found a nice snack. And she just said, "Oh, well, I'm very sleepy. There's 3 beds." So she got in the first bed, which was huge. And she said, "Oh, this bed's much too hard." And then she went over to the 2nd bed. And she said, "Oh, this bed's much too soft." And she got into the 3rd bed. And she said, "Oh, this bed is so nice." It was so warm and cozy that she drifted right off. Well, meanwhile, there was a family of 3 bears making their way home after a long day. A mama bear, a papa bear, and a baby bear. And they walked into their cottage, and they saw a bunch of things they hadn't left there. And Papa Bear said, somebody sat in my chair. And Baby Bear said, somebody sat in my chair and he broke it. Mama Bear said, somebody sat in my chair for quite a while. And then they looked at their table, and they said, Papa Bear said, "Ooh, somebody ate my porridge." And Baby Bear said, somebody tasted my porridge too. And then Mama Bear said, "Somebody tried my porridge and they ate it all up." And then they went into the bedroom, and Papa Bear said, "Ooh, somebody tried to sleep in my bed." And Mama Bear said, I think somebody laid down in my bed too. And then Baby Bear said, "Oh, somebody definitely laid down in my bed, and look, she's still there." And sure enough, they looked, and there was Goldilocks asleep in the bed. And Papa Bear ran over and shook her on the shoulder and said, "What are you doing in our house? What happened?" And she woke up and she said, Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. I didn't mean to harm you. I didn't mean to scare you. I just wanted some food. I was very hungry, and then the bed looked so soft, so I took a nap, and I hope I really haven't caused you harm." And the bears were very appreciative because she gave a very nice apology. And that's the moral of the story. If you do something that's wrong, you should always apologize.